getting a little bit worried because all of a sudden the boys are going to bed and we're not having to put them to bed as much. I'm getting worried. Okay. We'll figure it out, but my wife put the boys to bed tonight, but I don't know how much time I have.
Yeah, it's Prezi.
Perfect.
Yeah. I know we taking a dub, cause I've been dying to win. We champions, we champions. Eyes on the prize, cause I know that it is mine to win. We champions, we champions.
Alright, so it is Wrestling Wednesday, and you know what that means. We're going to bring in Always Healing Matt Key and talk a little bit about what's going on this week. It's a really busy week this week. So we already talked about this week, our 5 top wrestlers of all time. We're going to talk about that. We had the Money in the Bank that happened on Sunday. We've got the Last Ride documentary, which was freaking awesome, that first episode. And we got Raw that happened. And we have an awesome guest who trains at the Jacobs Pritchard Wrestling Academy, Kyle Sweeney. We're going to bring him on. But first, Matt, what's up, man? Welcome aboard. Welcome back.
All right, Brad, it's Wednesday, and just like last week, we're going to talk a little pro wrestling. You also asked me to maybe tell a little bit about myself. I don't know. I've been watching wrestling since I was like 5. I remember asking my parents to get WrestleMania 3, and I just watched it on TV with my wife. So, been a wrestling fan most of my life, been a football coach most of my life. 19 years at Plano, 1 year at East with you, and a lot of good seasons, I've coached a lot of good kids, and pretty proud of what we've accomplished, me and you, and what I was able to help to do at Plano. So, all right, enough of that. Let's get into wrestling.
Okay, and so here we are. We're going to bring on our guest, Kyle Sweeney. The thing to know about Kyle Sweeney, I know his older brother's a college basketball coach, which is pretty darn cool. I'd like to get him on the show as well sometime. But now I can't because the NCAA. Oh, I'm not a basketball coach. Maybe I can get him on. Anyway, Kyle is somebody that grew up with my nephew Brady and played baseball and basketball. I remember watching these guys play together, and it's kind of cool watching people grow up like that. And man, he's living the dream. Okay, he's training and wrestling some shows right now. Well, not right now because of the coronavirus, but he was prior to it. So we are excited to have him on here tonight. And I'm just going to let him kind of talk for a little bit. Let's start off with the question. What's your gimmick? Do you have a ring name yet? And if you don't, what ideas do you have for doing that? But glad you're here. So how about it?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. It's very, very exciting to be here and getting to answer questions and, kind of take you on the path that I've kind of taken so far. To start things off, I don't have a ring name. I go by Kyle Sweeney at the moment, but obviously I'm probably gonna play around with that a little bit. Maybe find something that could sell a few T-shirts, maybe. But to go along with that, I don't have a gimmick at the moment, but if I were to have a gimmick, I feel like I would do really well with a Ric Flair style gimmick, be a dirty heel sort of thing. And I'll, kind of working on that, kind of studying him and what really got him to, be declared one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. So he's somebody that I kind of I want to be like in the ring, and hopefully I can make that work for myself.
Listening to interviews and things from big stars of the past of professional wrestling. They always have a moment when they were growing up that they decided to become a professional wrestler. The one thing that got them excited about it. What was your one thing that got you excited about professional wrestling?
The one thing that got me excited about professional wrestling, oh man, Judgment Day 2007, John Cena and the Great Khali. Now that I remember watching the shows leading up to it, and I was like, "There's no way John Cena could beat the Great Khali. He's so dominant." And I was a 11-year-old kid, and I remember watching it and just cheering him on the whole time. They told a fantastic story. You know, Cena was trying to do the attitude adjustment to him, and ended up getting him down and putting on his STF. And I'll never forget when the Great Khali tapped out. I started screaming because I thought it was the coolest thing that I'd ever experienced. And I think that at that moment in time, I knew I wanted to do that, and I wanted to be a professional wrestler. So me and my friend we'd watch Friday Night SmackDown, and he had a trampoline. So after we watched that, we would go outside and do or you know what, we would wrestle, and then we would go watch SmackDown. And it was always a blast. And I think those were some of my fondest memories. Is just wrestling my buddy. We were always a tag team. We liked to pretend we were Brian Kendrick and Paul London when we were wrestling. So it was always a blast for us. And I think that Cena match and then just wrestling with my friends all the time was what got me most excited about getting into professional wrestling.
The next question I have is, what was your first day like? Was it overwhelming? Some people have talked about their first day and they didn't really want to go back. What was your first day like at school?
My first day of school, it was very exciting, a little nerve wracking. I was definitely nervous, kind of going in there. I wasn't sure if I was going to be working with people that had already wrestled before and were just honing the craft, or if I was going to be the only former college athlete, or just, if I was even going to like it. That's what I was very scared about. But as soon as I got in the ring, it felt natural. But rolling and bumping, it didn't feel natural at first. But as soon as I started doing that, I came around, and it was everything I could have hoped for. It was one of the coolest experiences. It's some of my fondest and greatest memories I'll ever keep. Wrestling's so much fun. Just getting to learn how to lock up, and I locked up with Dr. Tom, on the very first day, and he asked me, "Do I owe you money?" And I was like, "What? No." And he so I was grabbing him like I owed him money. So I had to learn how to work with him and not pull him around and all that stuff. So it was funny. Dr. Tom is the greatest trainer in the world, and there are countless others that would agree with that sentiment. And he truly has so much patience, and him not blowing up on me and getting mad at me for really not knowing what I was doing at that time, and just kind of showing me how to and what we were doing. It was awesome. That first day, definitely nerve-wracking, very, very nervous, but I had no doubt in my mind that I wanted to come back for day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on and so on. I knew from the moment I stepped in between those ropes that I was determined to finish and get an opportunity to go perform in front of others.
My last question is, have you had a professional wrestling match? Was it in the independents? Have you gotten out there in front of a crowd yet?
Have I had a match? Yes, I have. I've had like 13 or 14 matches before the coronavirus hit, and I haven't won a whole lot of them, but that was expected. And I still think my favorite match so far is Bobby Eaton Appreciation Night in Knoxville, Tennessee. Bobby Eaton, famous, legendary tag team wrestler, part of the Midnight Express. Got to have a tag match on the kickoff show or the pre-show, whatever you want to call it. And it was me and a guy from the class that I was a part of, and another tag team that was in the class before us. And ultimately we lost, but it was the coolest match I've ever gotten to be a part of. It was such a big night for us and around the school. And it's something that I'll never forget, because that's something that I want to keep. I want to go experience that again. It was so much fun, and I hope I get to do that again real soon.
All right, and our last question is going to be, first off, again, I've already told the story on here about how when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and they announced that I wanted to be a professional wrestler. My mom changed it to say professional athlete, and that might have changed the course of my life. But first off, what are your goals? What are your goals in wrestling? And is this something you're gonna? How long are you gonna give it? Are you gonna ride this thing out and work your tail off? What are your goals? I mean, as for me, I played arena football, living in a hotel and not making a whole lot of money until I was 27, 28 years old. What are your goals with things, and what do you see that path being? Okay, and then the last thing is, with the JPWA. All right, talk to us a little bit about that, and what advice would you give to prospective wrestlers that want to train there, and how do you feel about that as a place to start your path?
My goals in wrestling, definitely WWE contract, becoming the guy there. Hopefully that can happen in the next few years. It's not an easy business to break into, but if I'm determined, I know I'm capable of it, and as long as I keep putting the work in, I know the chips are going to fall in the right place for me. So biggest goal for me is WWE, and hopefully I get to main event of WrestleMania. After that, the advice I want to offer prospective students is you should be looking for a great trainer that has had a hand in everybody that you see on TV, and that's Dr. Tom Pritchard. He knows the right way to train you. He'll get you started off on the right foot, and if you listen, you pay attention, you work for it, he's a guy that can help you out a lot. And that's the biggest thing for me is he's such a great trainer, the greatest one in the world, that if I had a friend that wanted to go into wrestling, I would put him in that. I would suggest him right off the bat. He's the only person I would suggest to anybody. Dr. Tom is the man, and I will always say that, because he's phenomenal at what he does, and that's it. The JPWA is the only place that people should be looking to train at. That's all I got to say about that.
All right, so first off, Kyle, I just want to say I am so excited for you, man, and really glad you came on the show tonight. But the mindset that you just had is the type of mindset that's going to take you to the top. That's something that I would preach to my players and hope that they get. As a coach, if you don't shoot for the biggest of goals, you're never going to achieve it. You have to, just like you said, you want to be the greatest, and that's awesome. Ric Flair is a good goal to shoot for. Headlining WrestleMania, somebody's got to do it, man. You go chase it down. All right. I'm proud of you, and it was cool seeing you grow up with my nephew Brady, and all the times out of the baseball field, and you could hit the ball like an adult when you were little. You hit the ball like an adult. I remember that. So, thanks again for coming on. We wish you the best. And if you ever need a tag team partner, all right, just let me know, because I can do it. I've been doing DDP yoga. DDP does DDP yoga and he wrestles. I just got to be able to do it, right? So, anyway, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm going to talk real quick about our next matchup for the Ultimate Tournament of Storytime. It is going to be from the Coondog bracket, all right, and it is the 5-12 matchup. It is the Fiesta Bowl field goal, okay, the Fiesta Bowl field goal, and the 12 seed is meeting Coach Vass. And for those of you that don't know who Coach Vass is, look up Make Defense Great Again podcast, and he's running right now a ton of free clinics for football coaches all across the country, and just a great guy, really good Twitter follow. So we'll see which of those stories makes it, the Fiesta Bowl field goal or meeting Coach Vass. All right, but now back to Wrestling Wednesday. All right, Matt. So we're gonna go Money in the Bank, last ride, and then our top five wrestlers of all time. Money in the Bank. I must say, obviously, you got the big four. You got Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Those are going to be better than Money in the Bank or some of these other pay-per-views that are kind of secondary. I think the real question is how we feel about the Money in the Bank match. First off, for me, with the way things are with the quarantine right now, I think that the way they handled the Money in the Bank ladder match was awesome. It was, it's theatrical. It is, same things we talked about whenever we had the Firefly Funhouse match or the Boneyard match. Some things were, obviously it's scripted already, but some things were overly scripted. Some things, it was really weird that Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio got thrown off the roof, and nobody really said anything about it until Raw. That was weird. I felt like the match was really good. I think now, knowing that Becky Lynch was giving up the title to the winner of the Money in the Bank, Asuka's a good winner for that. All right. I do like the fact that Otis has it. And my question moving forward is going to be, what's going to happen to Tucker? Is Otis going to use it to go for the tag titles? Could that be a first? Or do we see Otis somehow get Drew McIntyre? I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
Money in the Bank. I love the theatrical stuff, as long as it's only done when we're in this quarantine time. I think if you get too much of it going forward, I think people will turn on it. I remember years ago, Bray Wyatt did a match, and nobody liked it, and the crowd was booing, basically because it doesn't happen in the arena. Yes, I thought it was produced, but there were enough fun moments, and I want to have fun when I watch wrestling. That's one of the reasons I watch it. It's my escape. So I was okay when Doink came up. I laughed out loud because I listen to the Bruce Pritchard Show every week, podcast. And when he came out as Brother Love, laughed. I thought the Vince thing was funny. I think you said something about them throwing the guy over the roof. Well, they weren't going to make too big a deal out of it, but it was easily explained that there was a secondary roof, which you could have seen when they were doing the flyover. I love the little subtle things that pretty much showed me at the beginning that Otis is going to win. Just some little things. I like that the ladder broke when he tried to climb it, so now you don't think he can win. I think now, understanding that Asuka was going to be the champ, I see why she won. I thought it would be somebody else. I really thought Shayna should get it, just because then you would have had, she can be ruthless. But overall, I thought it was a great pay-per-view. I loved the matches before. Bayley and Tamina wasn't the greatest of all time, but I didn't hate it. But I thought Seth and McIntyre were awesome. And I enjoyed the four-way tag match, too. All in all, I had fun. I mean, it was a good, solid pay-per-view, and I'm glad they went short. 2 hours, 23 minutes, over a 3-hour pay-per-view with no fans. Because Raw, I have to watch in segments because there's no fans. And sometimes it gets a little boring.
All right, in our one Wrestling Wednesday, we already kind of have established the fact that I am a mark for The Undertaker. And that is, my favorite character. I'm 38 years old, and I started watching wrestling when I was about 5. And The Undertaker's been wrestling for 30 years. Do the math. I've been an Undertaker fan since I was about 9 years old. And the thing I'll say about The Undertaker is, seeing this documentary, I mean, it's kind of cool how the last ride and the last dance are happening on the same night. So I'm seeing two of my favorite things, the Bulls of that era and The Undertaker, and kind of the story behind maybe the end of it. And, I'm looking forward to seeing next week's episode to see where we go from here. I was very similar to The Undertaker in the fact that I didn't think that his Roman Reigns match could have been his last match. I mean, even that one botched move, kind of set the tone for a lot of things. And, but dude, that guy's in pain. I understand he can't do the whole year schedule. I understand he can't get in shape for one match the way he has been. It's going to be interesting to see where things go from here with the overseas shows and Goldberg and all the other things going on. But I'm beyond excited for this documentary, and I can't wait to watch the rest of them. I think a lot of the things in the first show everybody kind of already knew because of the 13-minute, sneak preview they gave everybody. That's a meat of the documentary. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing Mark Calloway behind the scenes, and I think he deserves that. I think he deserves to be known as the person he actually is, not the person he's been pretending to be for the last 30 years. A lot of us, could find relief in actually being the people that we are instead of the people we pretend to be on a daily basis. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on the documentary itself? All right, moving on from the last ride, and now finishing up with our top 5 of all time. And this is, I think for me, 1, 2, and 3 are easy. But it's the 4 and 5 that are a struggle. So I'm going to let Matt go first. Matt, tell us, who are your top 5 and why?
The last ride. Loved it. Thought it was great. Was able to sit down and watch all the way through it. I really felt like a lot of that stuff I'd already seen on maybe Stone Cold's new talk show. But I enjoyed it. I know my wife sat down and watched it with me, and she enjoyed it, was asking questions. It's really interesting. It's weird to see The Undertaker having regular conversations. It just is, but it's going to get really good by the end. I really want to see how he handled the Goldberg match that he had in Saudi Arabia, because it was terrible. So it'd be good to see how he handled that, and I'm glad that that wasn't his last one. And I can't wait to see if they do some sort of making of the Boneyard match.
So, of course, since Matt is always healing, his guys are going to be, his picks or top 5 are going to be more interesting than mine. I look at my list and you could say I'm always facing. But so for top 5, I'm going to start at the top at number 1 because you can probably already guess if you've watched this or episode or previous episodes. But I have to say I'm a 1A, 1B guy. All right, I hate to say that it's a tie. But these two wrestlers, The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan, those are the two that, Hulk Hogan's the whole reason that I watched wrestling to start. And I already told you before, if you listen to my testimony, that he is partially responsible for me first wanting to be a Christian, because I knew he was, and he said his prayers and ate his vitamins. That's what I wanted to do. Undertaker carried the torch for me when Hulk left. And, I've got some good stories about early on how I felt about The Undertaker, and one of those is in the tournament. You'll find out. But, those are my 1 and 2. And I don't think I could ever replace that. Those are the 2 songs that I hear them and I get the most pop from. And, those are 1A and 1B. Number 3 is The Rock. He was the reason I went to the University of Miami, to be honest. The the Monday Night Wars were when I was in high school, and I got his book, and I honestly kind of went to Miami because I thought I could be a professional wrestler from there. I forgot about it and didn't really pursue it, but that's part of what I was thinking. Okay, so the last 2, these 2 spots, when I really thought about who my top 5 were, I was surprised that I came up with these 2. And this next one, my number 4 spot, HBK, I never thought I would say that, because I think that when he wrestled before, like when he was actually wrestling and I was watching him, I don't think I understood him. But since he's retired, and since there are all these documentaries out, every match I watch of his is phenomenal. The Undertaker HBK match in WrestleMania being one of the greatest of all time. On WrestleMania 3 on Tuesday night, you see one of the other ones, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Macho Man. That's one of the greatest matches of all time. So HBK, number 4. And then number 5 is somebody that I like, that one of the reasons I like him is probably because, if you surveyed a large group of people, I don't know how many people would pick this guy, but it's Brutus, man. Brutus the Barber Beefcake. The hedge trimmers, the what do you call those? The streamers flying off of them, all that stuff, man. The sleeper hold. Him and Hulk Hogan, man, when they were together, working together, that was awesome. The barbershop, okay, his show. That's my guy, man. I've always been a fan of his, and I always wish that he would have got more push. I always wish that he would have got more opportunity to continue wrestling. But there's my top 5. Now, with that being said, my top 5, all of them have been, well, besides Taker, have been retired for quite some time. There are new guys that could climb into that top 5 list. I do like Roman Reigns. I do like Braun Strowman. And Bray Wyatt as the Fiend before the pandemic, the quarantine, I don't feel like it's the same since. But, when he got electrocuted versus Seth Rollins and still won the match, that got me excited and got me to, just the mic skills, everything. He's just phenomenal. Mic skills are important to me. If I'm completely honest, when I watch Monday Night Raw, if it's a match that I don't care too much for the two people in the match, I will fast forward through the match and listen to the talking sometimes. But, guys like Enzo Amore, if he wouldn't have got ejected from the league, from WWE, or even Big Cass, I like the idea of having one guy that's not the talker but complimentary, and one guy that's a talker. That's why Brock and Paul Heyman work so well. So,
All right. I have a weird feeling on this, Brad, with this top 5, that you and I are going to be a little different. Actually, maybe not as much as everybody thinks, but I started a little bit before Brad, and if anybody knows me, they know who the first 2 people are. So that was the hardest part, is putting those 2 in order, and then everything else kind of falls in place. So, number 1 is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Not hard to figure out. He's the best in-ring performer of all time. I may have named my son after him, but that's up for debate. Nobody can really prove that, but it's possible. Number 2 is Nature Boy. I think that if he's not in your top 5 somewhere, I don't think anybody understands what wrestling is. I think even guys that bash him understand that he made wrestlers. He made Sting. He made Hall of Fame guys. He made Steamboat. And I think you have to be great to do that. Then the next 2 are pretty easy also. I probably, when I started teaching, I was still wearing jean shorts with a black t-shirt, like Stone Cold. So Stone Cold would be number 3. The Rock would be number 4. I even had a shirt once that said, do you smell what the Rock is cooking? If you press the O, it actually said, do you smell what the Rock is cooking? And yes, I wore that out of the house. Not my finest moment. And then number 5. There are 3 people vying for number 5 for me. I think that if I had to be told, I would probably put Undertaker there. And I know you're angry he's not number 1. But also, I am a huge Triple H mark. He made people. For all the people that said that he wouldn't lose, go look at his WrestleMania record. It's terrible. He loses all the time. I know whatever anybody says about him, he's one of the top guys of all time. Did he make my top 5? No, he's just out. And then Chris Jericho. Just has changed who he is so many times. But at number 5, put The Undertaker in there. That's pretty much my childhood and my 20s. Fun stuff. Yep, that's my top 5.
all right. So again, to finish up Wrestling Wednesday, just again a thank you to Kyle Sweeney for taking the time to talk to us tonight a little bit about JPWA, and again, Matt, continue healing, and we really appreciate your commentary and your willingness to come on and talk wrestling with me, and you're doing a great job, man. Keep it up. I just want to close tonight and say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for checking it out. Make sure you vote for the Fiesta Bowl Coach Vass matchup in the Ultimate Tournament of Storytime. And, again, my top 5 were my favorites, not who I thought were the greatest of all time. So, I do think Ric Flair is one of the greatest of all time. He would be in my top 5. So don't discount me on that, Matt. I'm just kidding. But anyway, thanks again for tuning in. And we will catch you maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. We'll see what happens. Actually, you know what? Friday, I have an hour-long O-line drill video for quarantine that I'm going to pop out there. Hope you'll check it out. It's going to be different than normal Football Friday. But it'll be there. All right. See ya.
Yeah, it's Prezi. Perfect. Yeah. I know we taking a dub, cause I've been dying to win. We champions. We champions. Eyes on the prize, cause I know that it is mine to win. We champions. We champions. I know we taking a dub, cause I've been dying to win. We champions. We champions. Eyes on the prize, cause I know that it is mine to win. We champions. We champions. Won so many times, I don't even know what a loss is. 119th Street, y'all know who the boss is.